Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I thought maybe we could look at this map. It's by a brand called Purple Lizard. It's funny because up until this very moment, I thought it was Blue Lizard for some reason, even though it's purple. I don't know why. But these maps, some of you know I backpack sometimes more when I was younger than now, although I want to plant something soon. And one thing I always like to have is a waterproof map, a topographical map of the area, so I know what I'm getting into. And I know that probably most backpackers today just use All Trails or something like that on their phones. But I just like to have a map to look at, like, you know, in the morning before I take off or at night to kind of plan out what I'm doing. But these maps are especially good because they're waterproof. They're like a thick waterproof material. So, and they don't rip, you know, like easily. They're like pretty sturdy. So I really like these. They're just nice to have. And I'll show you more about that. But this map is from a backpacking trip. My two sons, both of whom have been on this channel actually, Clark and Quinn. We did a backpacking adventure in Dolly Sods. And Dolly Sods, just so you know what we're talking about, it's in West Virginia. I think it's basically right in here. So it's in the Appalachian Mountain area there. Like here are the mountains. They go along here, kind of. So it's in the mountains. Not like, they're not the kind of mountains like Rocky Mountains, but there's some pretty good sized mountains, and it's beautiful. It's really nice for hiking. So I just thought we could look at this map for fun. I think the other reason I like these maps, I kind of like the way they sound. Not gonna lie. Oh, I also have I made like a latte situation, and in the cream, in the milk, really, it's 1% milk is what it is. I put some pure maple syrup and cinnamon and frothed it with a little shot of espresso. Wow, there's a lot of maple syrup. I may have put more than I thought, but it's tasty. So what's really nice and useful with a map like this is it is topographical. I think that's how you say that. And it shows you, I may have to zoom in a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but all the elevation changes, and oh gosh, I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. It's these lines. They're like little lines, and basically between each line is 50 feet of elevation. So the closer the lines are together, the more steep you know that part of the trail is. And you can see each of these darker lines. Let me double check this before I say it out loud because I don't want to be wrong. But yeah. Okay, so each of these darker lines is 250 feet elevation. So each of the like lighter colored lines are 50 feet each. So there are 5 between each of these. So like from here to here is 2,000 to 2,250 feet. So that gives you a real good sense of how steep that part of the trail is. And hold on, like on this map, it shows you right here that 1 mile is that far. So like sometimes you can use your finger and you know like a mile's going to hit you right here. So everywhere you go, you could kind of guess. But elevation makes a world of difference when you're backpacking, up or down, honestly, because when you're carrying a lot of weight on your back, because you're carrying your food and your water and your camping gear, even down elevation, especially as you get older, can be really hard on your knees. And I find for me, down is harder than up. A whole lot of down is a lot. But now I am at the age where I carry walking sticks. And so you can put the sticks down and put some of that weight on your arms. And it really, really helps. I can't recommend more having walking sticks. And I don't know, like I'm 55. I don't know at what age you'll need them. But if you ever have knee, the truth is, ever since I was in my 20s, I fell one time rollerblading and really hurt my knee. And then I hiked a mountain after that in Arizona. And coming down, my knee started to swell. And I ended up like with water on my knee. And it really hasn't been the same since. And I should have had hiking sticks back then, probably, because they are super useful for so many reasons. But anyway, so I'll show you the trail that, look, there's a bug on here because I had it outside a minute ago. I was looking at it on the picnic table. Hold on. Yeah. Sorry, guy. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'll show you. I think the trail we hiked is on the other side of this map. So I think I did a whole video about it after I got home, didn't I? I don't know if anybody's been with me that long, though. That was probably a couple years ago. So if you've watched my videos that long, please let me know. I think that would be cool. Okay. So the way we did it, there are a lot of trails in here, and I'll just show you. There's a, on these maps, there's always they have this that shows you the trail mileage for each trail. But like I said, 2 miles of flat ground is a real difference between 2 miles of steep terrain or rocky terrain or muddy terrain. So keep that in mind. But what I was going to show you, here we go. So they have here the explanation of symbols. So they have, paved roads, dirt or gravel roads, administrative roads, which is like for the park rangers, shared use trails. Sometimes that means, I'm not really sure, but I think sometimes that means horses or maybe snowmobiles in some areas. I'm not sure. Shared use. But definitely horses in this park because there are horses. Hiking trail only is the little green dots. Cross-country ski trail is the red. And that might be, the shared use might be with cross-country. Rail trail or bike path is green. And then they show you where you could find a restroom. Primitive camping, which means they don't usually have like fire pits or any kind of restrooms or anything. They're just a place you can put your tent. Some places you backpack, you can kind of set your tent up anywhere. And then other places have areas you can set up your tent. And then some places have these camping shelters and they're like built and you just set up inside the shelter. I don't think I've ever actually stayed in one of those shelters. I've always done just primitive camping. And then they have swimming, beach, boat ramp, climbing area, ranger station, rental cabin or yurt, cemetery. And then they show their little purple lizard. It says, this could mean anything. Cool place, sweet view, local legend. Oh, let's look for that. That sounds fun. Okay. So now I've been to this area a few times because many years ago we had a family reunion at Canaan Valley Resort State Park, or Canaan. I always say Canaan, but my aunt says Canaan, so I don't know. But anyway, so this is more, like they have a lodge there, they have a swimming pool, they have restaurants. But the backpacking is we did in this part of the park, which is Dolly Sods. And you can just do day trips to this park, and there's parking on all the different, like all these are parking areas. And you can just take day hikes inside the park. Or if you're staying over here, you can come over. Oh, I think it might be this Dobbin, not Dobbins. That makes me think of Harry Potter. It might be Rocky Ridge or Dobbin. I forget. Maybe Rocky Ridge. You can hike up, and it's sort of, I don't know if it's a designated dark sky area, but it's definitely dark skies. You can have a beautiful view of the stars. If it's a night without a full moon, you can really see the stars. So you can just kind of hike in, hike out. Oh, look, they have the lizards here, but they don't tell us what they mean. They must be viewpoints. I've never actually gone up here. Now, I think my sons came back and they did go up here with their friends. But when we went this way. I'm sorry, my son is just texting me on this phone. I asked him, I said, what exact trail did we take? And he just sent it, but I can't see it because I'd have to turn it off, I think. Anyway, I think I know. So we parked up here somewhere. I guess here. You park here. Yeah, that's right. You park here and then you hike in this wilderness way. All right, so we all have our backpacks with all our gear and everything. And we hike in here. Now, where's on this part of the map, a mile is, right below my knuckle here. So like right here. So that wilderness way, that's almost a mile right there, right? And then, sorry, I swallowed really hard. And then you come down this big stone, what does it say? Big stone coal trail. I don't remember that name, but I'm sure that's the way we went. And you can see here, the elevation difference of 50 feet is there to there, there to there. So it's not super high elevations here. I mean steep, you know what I mean? I don't mean high elevations, I mean steep. But I think you're starting kind of at a higher elevation. Let's see if they show. Yeah, okay. So like this trail is at 4,000 feet. 4,000, yeah. So you're up at about 4,000 feet. So you hike down this trail. So this is just a hiking trail because it's all the dots. And we came down this way, so you could go off either direction on this Duncan Barker trail, but we kept going this way. And then right here, there's like maybe I should, hold on, let me bring you in a little bit so you can see better. Okay, so right here, right here, it kind of has a fork in the road. Well, we knew we wanted to climb up the Lion's Head because that is like a stone outcropping in the side of a mountain that looks like a lion's head. And it's just kind of something to, go stand up there and see. So we went into the woods and we hid We probably didn't need to, but we didn't hide them, but we just kind of put the backpacks off to the side. Not that anyone's going to steal them or anything, but you never know. So we just kind of ditched them a little bit up off the path. We didn't want to make it too easy, you know. But anyway, and then we walked without our backpacks up to here and then cut up to Lion's Head. And so that's a bit more elevation. I'm trying to look and see where they show. So you've kind of gone down, like right in here, you start to go down to 3,000 feet. So you've gone down 1,000 feet, is that right? And then you come back up to Lion's Head to about, I think it says 3,500 feet. So that was cool. We took pictures, and you actually go up even steeper to get to the top where where you want to take the photos. Yeah, and there was a lady up there who was, as I recall, she was older than me, and she had shoes on that weren't really appropriate for that kind of. I was like, where'd they? I assume they came in from here and went this way. But anyway, so we did that, and then we went back, got our backpacks, and we came down this part of the trail, and then you ford the river, which is always exciting. You're like, oh boy, because it depends on how high the water is. I do remember feeling glad that I had my walking poles, because the rocks are slippery and it wasn't very deep, but I still didn't want to fall and get my backpack wet. It wasn't like danger, it wasn't like rushing water or anything, but you don't want to get your stuff wet. But anyway, so we went over here, and there was a really nice campsite. It's a primitive area, but somebody or multiple people had built it up a bit. I mean, so we get there, and take off that bit. And there was like stones they had used to build basically a bench, which was nice because at that time we didn't have any camp stools that you take like backpacking, which now if I went backpacking, I'd get one of those. They're like small, and you can just lean back on because you're tired and you want to be able to lean back. But so there were stones. Now the stones were so cold to sit on, so I took my sleeping bag and my sleeping pad and put it on the stones and kind of got in it when I sat out there. And then they had built a fire pit here, which, like I said, it's a primitive spot, so people had just made it out of stones and stuff, but it was nice. And whoever had been there before us had cut a lot of wood, and they had left a lot of wood, which also was nice because you can have fires in the park. And we did not have an axe or anything because we just had our little camp stove. And, we were just going to cook our dehydrated meals on the camp stove. But it is awfully nice at night when it gets dark to have a fire because otherwise it's just pitch black. So that was fun. We hung out by the fire, the three of us. And then I've told this story before, but we had a zombie deer attack us. And it was very scary. You don't think a deer can be scary, but when it's pitch black and a deer keeps coming at you, and we'd been hearing about this disease called zombie deer or something, I forget. We're like, oh my God. But anyway, and then we had a 2-man tent that Quinn and I shared. And my other son had the bright idea of bringing a hammock. And this is early days of us backpacking. Like they're both way more expert at it now. Now I have never hammock camped. I've only ever camped in a tent. And he had decided he'd do this hammock thing, but it wasn't like a hammock for cold weather. Like they make these ones, I think, that actually insulate you. This hammock's just a hammock. And he had his sleeping bag. I think it was a probably a blue kazoo, so it might go down to like 20 degrees or something. But that just means you won't freeze to death. It doesn't mean like you're going to be cozy. Well, he's in there, and we have been attacked by zombie deer, and we keep hearing zombie deer out there. And he was cold. And I, being a mom and feeling protective of my kids and knowing zombie deer, I'm not sleeping. My eyes are wide open. So suddenly he comes knocking at the tent door, and he's like, I'm too cold. Can I come in? So we let him come in. And he ends up, it's tiny. This tent's so small, you guys. And he ends up popping in between us. So now the three of us are all piled in. And honestly, we should have forced him on the outside because he is all cozy warm in the center. And we both are up against the wall, which means you're getting cold. So kind of it was a miserable night's sleep for two of us. Now, Clark in the center was like, oh, he woke up feeling all refreshed. Anyway, but the campsite was by this river. It was so beautiful. I mean, I don't regret this night at all, and it's all just funny to us now. But the river was so pretty, and at night, Clark went and he did the, like a polar plunge because the water is freezing cold. And so he went and got in. He's like, come on. I'm like, nope, I'm not getting cold because I'll never warm up again. And we put our, food in a bear bag in a tree. And, this was their first time backpacking. Now I've backpacked a few times. And I wasn't paying a lot of attention to everything they were doing. But they threw it over this branch. I'm trying to remember how this worked. And somehow, I don't remember how, but by morning, we couldn't reach this. I don't remember if it got tangled. I don't know how that happened. I don't remember anymore. But in the morning, we're like, oh crap, we got to figure out how to get the bear bag down. And so, probably stupidly, Clark held Quinn up on his shoulders. And I was like holding on to the back of him to make sure he didn't fall. And then he like used a stick or something to get it down. I don't know. It was so stupid. We were like Amateurville all the way. Even though, like I said, I've done it a lot. But if we hadn't had a group with us, we couldn't have gotten this down. Like, this is why I would never backpack alone. Like, you need a team for this. Anyway, so that was fun. So then we left here and we had to cross the river again. And we got onto this Red Creek Trail. Now, I think the original plan was that we would hike up here. And this is quite a bit of altitude. What's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of steep. Lots of rocks. And all of this, by the way, is very, very, very rocky. It is a more difficult hike than most because of how rocky and how much up and down. So it was quite a bit of mileage, but more than that, it was the sort of trickiness of the rocks and stuff. Now, for the young guys, I think it was no problem, but I'm older and I'm carrying weight, and so it was, it was challenging. But anyway, so we went up this way, up this Red Creek trailhead, and then I think our plan was to camp here for the night and then come out up this way, maybe. I think that was our original plan. But when we got to here, or even before that, I think we decided, that was really fun. We had a great night, but let's hike out tonight because we didn't sleep so great last night. And Clark did not have a tent. He only had the hammock, and we didn't want to share the tiny tent with him again. So we just said that we had a great time. We'll just hike out. Anyway, so we hiked up here, and then we crossed over at this breathed mountain, I think, if I remember correctly, and came back up this way. But that was a lot. That was a lot of hiking. And, yeah, it was a lot. But it's we had such a good time. I love it. I love feeling like completely spent at the end of the day. I love that. Like when you've been outside all day and you've worked hard and you're just like, oh man, I'm just going to go have a beer and a pizza. And it's like so good. Like that's the best feeling in the world. I love it. Anyway, so that was that. Let's see what some of these things. Red Creek is impassable during high water. Yeah, we must have been there when it was a little lower water. Backcountry campsites are throughout the Sods. Please use existing sites and do not build new campfire rings. Yeah, people have kind of just built them so they're around already. I don't know if the Park Service does that. I don't think so. I think it was just campers. Listen to this little one. Beware of bombs in Dolly Sods. Unexploded ordnance is the technical term. This rare, unique, and magnificent landscape was used by the U.S. military as an artillery range in 1943. Do not touch anything that appears to be ordnance. If you find something you think may be an artillery shell, note the location and contact the Forest Service. What? Isn't that wild? Bicycles are prohibited. I have no idea how you ride a bike with how rocky it is. On trails in Dolly Sods, wilderness, foot, and equestrian use only. I don't think maybe we saw a horse, but we did see horse poop around. What else do we have here? So Dolly Sods trail mileage. So we took the Big Stone Crop, 4.3, and then Red Creek, 6.4, but we only did parts of it. And then Breathed Mountain, 2.5. But like I said, mileage is, if you're ever planning a hike, make sure you don't just look at mileage. Think about all the other factors. Because I could walk, 20 miles on flat ground, no problem, without a pack. But once you have a backpack and you're on rocky terrain and you're doing elevation, that's a different, animal. What else do we have here? Let's see. Bear Rocks Preserve Nature Conservancy. Oh, Eastern Continental Divide. Water on Dolly Sods and Canaan Valley runs to Pittsburgh and the Mississippi River, eventually reaching the Gulf of Mexico. Water to the east of Dolly Sods runs to Washington, D.C. via the Potomac River and enters the Chesapeake Bay. And then it says a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Here is your country. Cherish these natural wonders. Do not let selfish men and greedy interests skin your country of its beauty, its riches, or its romance. Ooh, what does this say? Adventure paddle the maze of waterways from the end of Camp 70 Road heading downstream will get you back, maybe. We have all these ads for local places. I don't remember how old this map is. Billy Motel. The Billy Motel makes me think like hillbilly. I don't know. Pocket-sized 10-room motel with cocktail bar, mid-century lounge, and fireplace. That sounds right up my alley. I may have to look that up. Well, what else do we have here? Let's see. It says the hardest part is opening and closing maps, isn't it? This map was made to help you explore this part of the world. It represents a dynamic, living, forested area. Things change, trees fall, plants grow, roads and trails get closed, gated, rerouted, and renamed. Cell phones do not work everywhere. Be safe. Tell someone your plans. Yeah, that's huge. Tell someone your plans. Talk with people who have local knowledge and stay within your physical and mental limits. Remember that your actions affect all of us. Be smart. Be safe and leave no trace. Pack out trash that others leave. Practice random acts of kindness and have fun out there. Peace. Care for this map the way you care for yourself. Wash gently with warm, soapy water. Dry with a soft towel and use often. That's cute. Yeah, I like these maps. I feel like I've used them since forever. I don't know. Listen to this. It says, warning. Use of purple lizard maps may cause missed work or school days, shifting of priorities, and an urgent need to escape, followed by a general sense of well-being. Plan accordingly. It says it's hike, bike, and boat proof and waterproof. Yeah, these are good maps, I have to say. If I can find a link, I'll try to put it. But I had a hard time actually finding this map. I may have ended up, I can't remember if I got it at REI or if I bought it used because I couldn't find it. I don't remember. Dolly Sods, Elkins, Baltimore, Frederick, Maryland's a nice place to visit. Macau. I don't know about this. Ohio Pile. This is where Falling Water, which is one of Frank Lloyd Wright's designed houses, is. I was almost going to do a video on Frank Lloyd Wright today, Liaison, but I haven't done it yet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Dolly Sods. Seneca. Seneca rocks. I guess I was thinking blue lizard because blue lizard is a sunscreen I use sometimes. I think it's purple lizard. Purple lizard maps. 1% for the planet. For best results, carry this map with you at all times. For hiking, biking, boating, running, camping, climbing, exploring, contemplating. So this map has Blackwater Falls, Canaan Valley, Dolly Sods, Candy Creek, Roaring Plains, Seneca Rocks, Smoke Hole, Spruce Knob, back roads, and dirt roads. Look, $17, yeah, not super cheap. Although I will say, you can resell them if you want when you're done. People always want these, I think. So where do we go next? I think the next time I backpack, I might look for a place that has like they have these ones you can backpack to, and then you get like a cabin almost. So you still bring your sleeping bag and stuff, but you don't bring a tent because I'm kind of a scaredy cat a little bit out in nature. Not a lot, but bear and zombie deer and stuff scare me. What does this say? Blackwater Canyon Trail connects Thomas Rail Trail to the Allegheny Highlands Trail in Hendricks and south to Elkins. The rail corridor is the boundary between public and private land. Please stay on the northern side of the rail bed. The Forest Service does not maintain this trail, but a dedicated group of locals work to keep it clear. See, that's the kind of trail it depends on if this map were old, you might want to look into that before you get on, because sometimes they are kept and sometimes they're not. No name trails. This network of trails is not part of the state park and may not be maintained. Isn't it amazing people have mapped this all out? Thomas City Park Trails, 2.5-mile trail system for beginner mountain bikers, young hikers, and families. I should get out my bike. I actually bought a new intertube for the back tire. I think it's back tire. And I was going to change it on a video, but it's been sitting since last fall because I have my old Trek mountain bike and I haven't used it in literally ages. I don't even know if I could keep my balance anymore. What's this? Allegheny Trail, 300-mile yellow blazed route across West Virginia, following roads and trails. Huh. Yeah, so you can take this all. Gladwin dispersed camping. They say passable at low water area. You gotta keep an eye on that. What else do we have to look at here? Let's look at the other side of this map. So this area is called Spruce Knob Seneca Rocks. Hold on, let me pull you on a little bit. What do they say about this? Monongahela National Forest. Yeah, I think there's some good camping in here that you can do without backpacking. I think you can just pull up and camp. I don't see that, which is interesting because I thought there was. Motorcyclists enjoy the endless curves of Route 33 and the many twisty back roads to explore. Oh yeah, I bet that's pretty. My cousins, they have Mercedes-Benz motorcycles, and they did like the Dragon in Tennessee and stuff. They like to all these. But I'm sure they've done this because they don't live all that far from it, probably. The Nature Conservancy Pike Knot Preserve. Oh, interesting. What else do we have here? Seneca Creek is an extreme backcountry kayak run during high water. Whoa. Oh my gosh. I bet that's crazy. I have seen some of these kayakers, the stuff they do. I'm like, oh my God. I would be scared to death. I'm kind of, I think rightly, terrified of water. Like, not water, but, you know, I understand the dangers of it. And these guys know what they're doing. I'm not saying they know what they're doing, but like I wouldn't consider doing something like that if you don't know what you're doing, because it's crazy. They go over like waterfalls. And, wow, it's wild. Yeah, extreme backcountry kayak run. Oh my God, I'd like to go just watch that. It's so crazy to watch it. I don't see a trail that leads to it except right here. I don't know if you could get to it. Oh my gosh. If anyone's done that, let me know. Sounds crazy. What's this quote by Henry David Thoreau? I took a walk in the woods and came out taller than the trees. I just love nature, man. When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. John Muir. Yeah. What does this say? Did I already read this? Maybe I did. Dispersed camping means you will find primitive campsites dispersed in this area on a first-come basis. There are no picnic tables or restrooms at individual sites. Please pick up the trash others leave behind and respect this opportunity. That's interesting. I always do that. If I see trash other people have left, I pick it up. And sometimes people I'm with are like, why are you picking up somebody else's trash? But it's like, well, maybe worst case they did it on purpose and I'm still going to pick it up. But maybe they just accidentally, like, I don't know. I just don't want trash in nature, like, because we're humans and we did it. So I will pick it up. I do it on the side of the road when I'm walking down the street too. I hate litter bugs, man. It's such a pet peeve. Oh my God. Like organic climbing. What does that mean, really? Like it says, Purple Lizard mapped over 5,000 miles of trails and dirt roads. Go for it. Love that. So here's how you fold a map, everybody. Because people in the videos I've made before are like, how do you fold a map? It's like a fan. You fold it like a fan. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I guess not all maps work this way, but... And then